I'm going to call to order the Orland School District 135 Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, September 16th, 2019. Jill, will you call the roll?
Here.
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 Here. Here. Here. We have citizens' remarks. Al McDonald first. Oh, for the next meeting? You too? You want to speak now? Okay. Do you need more than 3 minutes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right. So, Jennifer Castengren, parent. I wanted to say that I do appreciate the data provided in the 2019 Spring Data Report and that it was publicly available on board docs before the meeting so it could be reviewed. I must say, however, that the most important facts seem to get lost in the report. The fraction of students meeting state standards on the IAR in math for the district drops from 55%, more than half in third grade, to 32%, less than a third in sixth grade. And even at the end of 8th grade, only 42% of the students in the district are meeting or exceeding state standards in math, still well below the performance compared to state standards at 3rd grade. Having less than a third of our students meeting state standards in math is not acceptable to me, and I doubt is acceptable to much of the community. We must do better, and our students deserve better. What the district is currently doing in this area is clearly not working. I strongly feel that the board needs to start asking some pointed questions of the administration given this result. Is the lack of meaningful enrichment in math in the intermediate grades holding students back? Are the current math curriculum and materials in need of a major revamp? Do the teachers have the right tools and supports for teaching math? So I look forward to seeing the board's leadership in addressing this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. And Heather Castillo. We usually give folks 3 minutes. Do you need more than that, you think?
No, I don't believe I do.
Okay.
There is a couple things. Good evening. Before I begin, I would like to address the topic of fear parents have when addressing concerns or questioning anybody regarding the school board, school district, or newly revived D135 Foundation. I have been warned that it is possible there will be repercussions for my questions. I have been told by parents throughout the district that when parents ask questions regarding certain topics, they are being threatened with slander, as in the legal definition. If this is true, it is completely unacceptable. And let me be clear, if your answers lead to you to lose credibility or cause defamation, it is not the question, it is the answer that led to that outcome. The board president has made it very clear that regarding promotional signage in D135 schools, no law, no issue, no matter what concerns are raised by stakeholders and parents, full stop. Everyone here today should want the same thing for the better of the community. Some members need to look beyond their own personal gain and ambition. The district suffers from a bad reputation. This is from stakeholders, parents, staff, teachers, and students. What is the board doing to repair the damage? I do not claim to understand the full dynamics of a school district and board. I've never claimed to be the smartest person in the room. This is why I ask questions. I ask an array of questions on several topics, even when the questions are uncomfortable. No question is off the table. I stand for all parents asking any question. As a district, we are still recovering from the financial challenges for the kindergarten and one-to-one device technology. The board knew this would happen, as reflected in board minutes, as they discussed ways to revive the D135 Foundation to offset the cost. Records show the prior foundation was involuntarily dissolved. I'm sure that helped with the reputation. The balance was $35,000. How is this supposed to offset educational costs? Records show $15K was approved to the board to be given to the current D135 Foundation. Was that money given? I would also like to ask for a list of mandates per year for the last 8 years that have increased our operational cost. I'm not sure where to get that and what that looks like. Regarding the devices for board members, is there a law or policy that states board members can only access board docs, email, and communicate through district issued devices. Do all board members agree that it is fiscally responsible to have devices that exceed $5,600 when we are cutting programs like math? And how many jobs separately have we eliminated at the district offices? Thank you.
Thank you. Going to move on to board member reports, advisory committee updates. We'll start with the Communication Advisory Committee.
Madam Chairman.
Mr. Shalby.
First, these committees, I think, have been going very well, if I may say. There's been a lot of fruitful discussion, a lot of input from stakeholders, and it's a great collaboration, at least through I can see through the communication and technology committees, of a well-balanced, diverse board encompassing of teachers, board members, staff, administrative staff, and the public. So I think it's working out quite well. The Communications Committee has been pretty straightforward. We've met multiple times, and we've been working on a mission statement that's about 95% finalized, and trying to distribute the most important and pertinent information to the right levels of individuals. So what we're seeing is that some people would like to hear from the entire district, and some would just want to hear from their schools, because some parents, like myself, I have 3 children in 3 schools, so there's a lot of communication going on a continual basis. So we're trying to see what is the best form to disseminate the information, and we're also prioritizing the information based on, emergency and safety items would be something that would be disseminated to the whole district, if applicable, and then if there are, safety seems to be something that everybody wants to hear about, especially if it's impacting a local area. So, God forbid there's a lockdown at one of the schools, do we disseminate that information to all of, this is just some of the things that we've been discussing, but do we disseminate that information to all of, if it's happening at Center, does Century need to know? So I guess that's on a case-by-case basis, depending on the threat, God forbid there is one. So it's been fruitful discussion, and we're trying to disseminate information also as it pertains to some of the things that curriculum is doing, which I think that Mrs. Kulak will address later on when it comes to the technology portion. So I will defer to Mrs. Albright if she has anything that she would like to add at this time.
Nothing? Rest of the board have any questions for communications? No? All right. Next is finance and operations. Mr. Merite.
Yes. Our last meeting was on September 4th, which was our second meeting that we had. At that previous meeting, we had wanted to get out our bus company from our ABC. They sent out their vice president, and they also sent out the regional manager. So they obviously took it fairly seriously, what we had to discuss. We do have the contract coming up. We have 2 options: put it out to bid, or we can actually renew. We can negotiate a renewal. And we haven't come to a complete answer on that, but it looks like we might be leaning to renewal. Okay, but we still haven't thrown away the bid process. So we had them out, a lot of questions that we asked Mr. Sullivan, who is the Vice President of Cook Illinois Corporation. We talked a little bit about the recent situations that have occurred on our buses that we are using from ABC. We talked a lot about, because of this, we talked a lot about safety. We talked about screening, substitute drivers. We talked about background checks and to what extent they do background checks and how far that background check goes. We also talked about the training. I asked questions when the training runs were done, because previously when we've had any kind of bus problems, the training runs were not done in a timely fashion. We found out that not everybody did the training runs, but this time they were more up on top of doing those training runs as they were supposed to. And we talked about possible GPS options in the future, because right now they're not using a sophisticated GPS system that would use an auditory signal, as opposed when you're driving, you well know you want to be, you hear much better than you are not allowed to look down anywhere anymore without the Orland police getting next to you. So we want to know what they were doing in that situation. Obviously, a lot of these costs that would go in. We talked a little bit about the impact of the gasoline tax, because that in itself will indirectly probably affect the proposal that might be given to us or in renegotiations. We also talked about building and grounds, because some of our finance board members were looking for a 10-year plan. Even though not all of our children will be here forever, we as board members and as parents want to know that we leave the district in good hands when our last child leaves 135. So we talked a little bit about a 10-year plan. Mr. Hanson talked about a couple things that, caught my interest and other interests. We talked about the expense of roofs and how the process of roofs and how what schools had to be done, prioritized to get those roofs done, and how it would be more expensive to the district if we didn't do something according to the schedule, and it would cost us more down the line. We also talked about replacement of HVAC equipment. We have 10 buildings, plus we have the administration center to think about, and if anybody's in HVAC, it can be a very costly item for that situation. Redoing of playgrounds, et cetera, was also discussed in those future district projects. So we're trying to get a nice 10-year plan where we can spread out the financial hit on the district, but still keep everything where it needs to be. We also talked about the food service. Has been talked many times, discussing when we're going to do this, when we're going to do this. Well, we did discuss the National School Lunch Program, and we talked about having an NSLP trial for 3 days. If you want to write these down, please do so. October 15th, 16th, and 17th. October 15th, 16th, and 17th. We're going to do that immediately afterwards. I assume that many of you will be talking to your children, and administrators will be talking, board members will be talking about about what they felt about that program. And there'll also be a survey available to give students and parents an opportunity, and you need to take this opportunity to express their feedback on the program. So it's important to have those discussions with your children and the students of 135 as well as each other, and do the survey. It's there. Please do it. There's also a proposal. We had 4 vendors on our copier requests. Proposal from Mr. Bahula, Director of Instructional Technology. He presented them from 4 vendors who submitted their proposals. Those will be further discussed, but there was one that we looked at much more in depth, and it seems to be the one we might be going with. It was also the lowest bid. So that's where we were at all with that. We have set the next date, which is October.
We're looking at, initially it was October 2nd, but we're looking at pushing that to October 9th to...
Yeah, we had a conflict October 2nd. We have a meeting set up that day with the District 230. That's very important. And we're looking to push it back to October 9th. So that's where we're at. I'm really happy. My fellow board member, President Dodge, is probably, we're really doing some good things on that Finance Committee. And our people are asking some great questions. So.
Thanks, Mike. Policy personnel? I don't know who's...
Yeah, we've also had a very lively and engaged Policy and Personnel Committee, and we have a couple of recommendations we're making tonight. The first is, it's the consensus of the committee to recommend not filling the residency investigator position. And the way that we would handle that is the need for occasional ad hoc residency investigations would be met by outsourcing the function to an investigative service at a fraction of the cost of what we were spending in the past on an as-needed basis. So that's something that we could discuss either tonight or at a future meeting to vote on that if we need to. The second recommendation that we're making is the committee is evaluating the district office and the staffing there, looking at the staffing analysis that was done in the, I don't remember what time frame that was, a few years ago. And, but we thought that, we would target department by department and look at evaluating the staffing and functionality of each department, starting with the District Instructional Technology Department, and the committee is recommending soliciting proposals for doing a staffing evaluation similar to what we've done for special education to ensure that we're staffed correctly and that the functionality is in line with what competitive districts are doing in that area. And then after we do that evaluation, we would look at some other departments in the district office. On the policy front, the committee is evaluating a couple of policies to bring them up to date and to make some improvements. We're not in a position right now to report out and recommend changes to policies, but we would report out in the future at meetings to make recommendations to the board for consideration. One thing that the committee is driving towards is a solution to make our policies more inclusive of non-English speaking parents and stakeholders by offering an option to provide translations of policies upon request until technology is available that would allow for the translations in a more automated way. And we're working that as well. And is there anything else that you would add there, Dr. Berry?
I think you said it very well.
Well, I think we could talk about residency now, since you brought it up. I don't think it's something we need to formally vote on. We can just discuss it and come to a consensus. How do people feel about their recommendation? Agree?
I think it's a good one.
Me too.
I would just be concerned that who would fill the gap or the void of students that would be not fulfilling their obligation to be honest and being in the district.
Could you say that
Yeah.
again?
So basically, if someone's not telling the truth, right, how are we going to catch them?
Well, and that's a
Same way.
good
Who
question.
fills that void?
The front line is usually, and has been in the past, remember, this was a position that wasn't always there.
Right.
We're asking everybody to reprove residency every year, which is a brand-new thing. So that stopgap, when we first brought that position in, was we didn't have people proving their residency every year, so you could register your kindergartner and move in 6th grade, and we would never know that. So now everybody has to do that. And there, I mean, people, our constituents self-report when they see people dropping their kids off. Mail is returned to the school. So there are ways of, kids talk.
Yeah.
They're very good at that. So there are ways of doing that, and as Devin said, there are companies that provide this service for a fee. But what we noticed is the vast decline in the number of cases, if you will, over the, 3 years that we had this position. So it went like a lot to, I don't think there was one that was proven last year. So it went down dramatically, but we've changed some things that the schools do in the meantime.
Thank you.
Procedures
The
affected.
procedures, right.
Affected the decline also.
Thank you.
So if something like, I had a friend who called me and said she saw kids being dropped off at a bus stop on a regular basis, and I called Ed. So in this case now, would we bump that up to, whose name is escaping me?
Jerry?
Jerry?
Yeah.
Or how would we handle that?
Generally, we would try to have that household prove residency once again, just to verify the information that they received. I mean, we don't have the resources to, lack of a better word, tail individuals to and from. That's where the gap we would try to close that gap with an agency to replace that, because it's extremely time-consuming process, and it's just normally not a one-time event. You know, the bar is extremely high to prove this process. Depending on the case, but that's our first step, would be having to verify the documents that we received to make sure that they met all the requirements, and if for whatever reason something got through that wasn't supposed to, we would have people re-verify that process, and then obviously scrutinize it a little more and take it from there. And then it would be a decision, district decision, on whether we'd want to continue to move that forward and engage with that agency. And there's databases also. We have access to databases as well, through a service to double-check some of these items. So there's some preliminary things we can do before we move forward. So that's generally the process. As far as what Dr. Berry said, I mean, all our leads come from the community. They come from teachers, they come from staff members. Everything she said is really how it works. We generally don't go out and seek these out. They come to the district office.
Can you tell us, I'm sure I need refreshing, but what happens if you do find a kid that does not live in the district? Is it he starts one day and then he can finish out the year and then next year, or what is the procedure on that?
I mean, every situation is different, but if a student is here for one day in our district, they'll have the opportunity to finish that school year and finish out the school year and won't be able to register next year unless they're a resident in the district. And Tom, I don't know if you'd like to add anything else to that.
No, that's correct. If a student starts the year legitimately a resident and then they move in the middle of the school year,
I'm not talking legitimately.
they stay.
I'm
But
saying if they're here,
if they're found to be illegitimate, we have a hearing and in front of a hearing officer, and the family has an opportunity to prove that they're residents. Now, at this point, at the point of the hearing, there's been some evidence that they're not residents. A lot of times before the hearing, they'll give up and realize that they don't have a case, and they'll go. But if you have a hearing, you have a hearing, and then the hearing officer decides whether or not they're residents. And if they are, they stay. If they're not, they owe tuition from the time they enrolled or became non-residents. And that tuition is actually pretty high. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but it's higher than like a parochial school tuition. It's substantial. And then they have to go. They cannot stay here without payment of
that's what I was
tuition. It's illegal.
People will want to know, what the total cost savings is, not just for the road, but I thought there was added expenses like car rental.
We did rent a car on a weekly basis. We worked with a local vendor, because again, if you use the same car all the time.
I understand
It's like
the reasoning.
any other stakeout process.
I would just like the public to know the cost savings as a whole, roughly.
Yeah, I believe the rental car was, I'd have to double check this, but I believe it was in either the $6,400 range or $7,400, but I'd have to double check that.
And the position and benefits?
The individual that was in there didn't have any benefits. He was just straight salary.
How much was that?
It was roughly in the low 40s.
So it's at least a $50,000 savings with the car rental and the salary to the district? Correct?
Depending on the cost would be in cases that we would
Outsource.
engage with an agency, that would be the difference, right? I mean, some of these cases could get into the thousands depending on how far we want this to go.
We'll get that data at the end of this year to
And
see,
make another
and make a
decision.
comparison between two ways.
Is the committee going to then come up once we decided to go this way, are they then going to come up with some cost analysis on?
We have some that looked at a few vendors, and it scales, it's pay by the drink, so it's pay as you go. For each one you do, it's a set fee. Well, some of them are structured as, an hourly kind of time and materials thing, but others are by set fee. And we would, at least the proposal in the committee to the board is to kind of come up with a cap. So say we're going to, cap it as a warning level at we're going to do 10 investigations and say they're $1,500 a piece, no more than 10, or, this is where we'd be able to work with the district office and see where this goes and how many, leads are brought in, to use Mr. Brick's term over there, and look at it so that if we end up spending $40,000 anyways, that's, no savings, but I don't think we're going to get there, not based on the numbers that we've seen over the last 2 years. So
How about
it's a
so far
handful,
this year,
not a...
any?
We have a stack of mail, of returned mail, that hasn't been addressed yet. As far as that exact number, I don't know, but it's,
Could we
It's-
also bill those people back if they're found to be not residents? Bill them for the fees of the investigator?
No.
No.
You can bill them for tuition, and that's about it, and in my experience, that's oftentimes uncollectible. So what I mean by that is, if they rack up a $8,000 tuition bill, you're gonna spend more than that, you know, they're not gonna write you a check when you ask them for it, that you're gonna have to sue them and collect it, and it's not cost efficient. We've always been satisfied for that reason with compliance, meaning getting them to move on.
we went the distance with a case, I believe, 3 years ago, with a residency that was not accurate, and then they tried to shift gears, and process took a couple years, and you know, it's not like we're going to see any financial gain from that, but I think that knowing that the district is willing to do that moving forward is a deterrent in itself, because there are some negatives, obviously, for the individual that goes through this process, and there's a judgment against them. But as far as the district actually collecting or recouping, as Tom said, that's unlikely to happen.
If I could just add one thing briefly, in that case that Mr. Brick mentioned, it is, and it always has been, a crime to provide false information to a school, to establish residency falsely. And it's been a crime that, in my experience, was never prosecuted, because you would go to your local police and say, hey, they lied on their affidavit, and the police would really say, you know, we have bigger fish to fry. But that case that Mr. Brick is referring to, the Orland Park Police did prosecute that case, and I don't know if it's still pending or if there was a judgment in it.
I believe it's come to its conclusion.
Yeah, so that's, I think that case helped the district, because there were newspaper articles about it, so people knew that, holy smokes, somebody's actually getting prosecuted for this, and that was good. And then we sued her and tried to collect the money, and that became, it became evident that that wasn't going to happen, so we did what we could, and we filed what we could so that we could preserve our rights to the extent we can.
Teaching and Learning Advisory Committee.
Teaching and Learning met on Wednesday, September 11th, at the boardroom and district office. And before I forget, the next meeting is going to be October 16th, 5:30 at Park School. When we got into a discussion about class sizes and how buildings are different, we thought it might be good to have one of the meetings at another site. So we're going to have a tour of Park School on that day, and that particular time has been changed to 5:30. So, and it is again public meeting. So we started out by Dave Snyder gave an extensive overview of all the curriculum, textbooks, resources, and huge grid form of what was, you know, in print material, what was digital, and he went through all of the district's curricular resources. So he has copies of that. He broke the resources down by level, primary, intermediate, junior high. He explained that the primary level, all of the resources are available to students in individual print versions also. At the intermediate level, science is limited to the digital version for students with class sets available in each building. At the junior high, science, math, and world language are now digital with print versions in circulation and available if needed. So I think we got all of our questions answered regarding the information that was requested from a prior meeting. Dr. Zeter then did a presentation with the data regarding class sizes, and our discussion just started on the topic of how big should a class be before we open another section, and lots of good conversation and, you know, opinions by people, which also leads to a discussion about space because we were, commenting that, Centennial School, although a class size might be smaller than at Park, the physical space at Centennial limits the number of students that are in the classroom. So she did display a spreadsheet with class sizes compared to, from last year to this year. And she highlighted where the district enrollments were changing. We found it kind of interesting that Gerling and Orland Junior High are now, the class sizes there are larger than at Century, and Gerling's overall enrollment is larger than Century's as well. She explained that when the district sees its largest number of enrollment, which is from June to August, when determining class size and sections, and the committee had a discussion about this, when that's delayed.
Speak into the mic.
I'm sorry, when that's delayed, it impacts the resources for students, buses, transportation, student schedules, and we talked about that, and we kind of left off at that, and we had the final topic just briefly brushed on was building space and what to do about that. We see that as definitely something that the board will need to tackle very soon, before next year even.
Yeah, that'll be an overlap with finance and operations.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Any questions for?
So again, that park school tour is at 5:30 on October 16th, and then we'll have the meeting right after that.
So you're planning on going to other schools over the course of your meetings? That's a good idea.
Yes, we do.
All right. Technology.
Okay, we started the technology meeting like 15 minutes after the teaching and learning meeting, and Mr. Shalaby and I were given the information, and the whole committee, from Chris Pahula about how Skyward functions for viewing schedules and bus routes. He gave us the data on the device use, and also this was the first year that we allowed the students to take the devices home. They could opt to take them home or not, and it was a significant savings to the district by allowing them to just take them home and bring them back. They talked about that sign that keeps falling on the functionality and preparations for the Speak Up tip line, so we discussed that. There's another event that is graciously paid for by the PFE on
25th?
the 25th
25th.
of this month, called Screenagers at Century Junior High at 6 p.m. And we would like to thank the PFE for funding that. And I believe that when we were at the PFE meeting that morning, they said they could only show it twice.
Don't know.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
There's a
yes.
limit
Chris is
with the
saying
license.
twice,
It is
yes.
Right, two times.
right? Yeah, it's
Yes.
twice, so.
Yes.
Thank you. Recently, he also went over the same data that he did with you, Mike, about the copiers and everything and how it impacts instruction. And the committee pretty much gave the thumbs up with going with the company that was significantly less. We also discussed instructional technology guidelines, and the purpose of this was to talk about a balance in how technology is used in the district, and the committee came up with some really good ideas about how to display the information, and that we would also have to work with the communications department to get that information out, because it was a little, I think it was a little bit confusing, and I think if we change the format of it and work with the communications committee to disseminate that information, that it will be valuable for all. Finally, the topic of keyboarding and teaching keyboarding was addressed, and a review of the current resources. The consensus of the committee was that keyboard is a very important skill, and there should be resources available to develop those skills, but direct instruction focusing on keyboarding skills should not replace class time focused on other instructional objectives, but to give students that option, and that's what the recommendation was of the committee. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on technology?
Anything else?
Anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Clerk.
All right, and we'll move on to administrative reports, fiscal year 20 budget update.
I just wanted to share some highlights of the FY20 budget, some of the things that we've factored in and anticipated. As far as property tax appeals, we anticipate the district refunding $2.4 million in refunds, as been the trend here the last few years. We had increased insurance costs of 9.9%, which would roughly going to increase our contribution. We are self-funded, but we are planning for an additional $1 million in that area. As far as our contractual salary increases, we budgeted an additional $1.2 million to cover those contractual salary increases. Factored in a 3% increase for transportation. And then also some of our capital projects in the upcoming years, Liberty Roofing Project, replacing Centennial and Prairie playgrounds, the final phase of park upgrades, and that was going to be offset by the bond sale, which we'll do a working cash transfer sometime this fiscal year. As far as our fund balance, I anticipate that being right around 45%, right at the end of the school year. So that's some of the factors that we put in. There is some room to potentially, if we do have to meet some student needs, that if we needed to hire an additional staff, so there is some flexibility to, which happens quite often, where we might get a student that transfers in, that we have to provide some services. So we do have some flexibility in there as well to absorb that.
Any questions on that from anyone?
Yes. Once again, what is our, after all this, our fund balance?
We're projected to be roughly 45%, which would be just short of $38 million.
$38 million?
Just short of $38 million.
Mm-hmm. So we're not broke.
We are not.
Nice.
The bond refunding helped that quite a bit. And so with that, I guess we anticipate a budget deficit roughly, like I said, if we're going to strip it down and there's no variables that occur, it'll probably be in the 1.3 million. But like I said, I did factor in some dollars just in case any staffing needs would increase or any unpredictable maintenance issues that might occur. Probably have about a $150,000, $200,000 buffer for that. So if things go well, moving forward, our deficit could be as low as 1.3 this school year.
Did you factor in any type, we have a contract out for our staff.
Yes, I did factored those dollars in.
What was that? What do you think?
For total support and certified,
Wait, why would you ask that question? We're in negotiation.
Pardon?
We're in negotiation.
I know we are, but I said, did he factor it in?
But if you tell him if he answers that question.
Oh, it's public knowledge.
No, I'm not saying that he shouldn't answer the question, but he wouldn't know that. What would you have factored that in at, Mr. Burr?
Yeah, that's what I asked.
Yeah,
I factored in an additional $1.2 million for that.
that's probably a better answer than the percentage.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's why I directed it that way. Sorry, Mr. Murphy.
Oh, it's all right. What happened again?
So,
And that's for support and certified.
Mr. Brick, just to be blunt, so we've heard from our constituents over and over and over, and they believe that our district should be looking at more significant cuts within our district. Do you foresee that being applicable over the next 12 months?
Mr. Shalaby, quite honestly, I don't believe that's my decision. I can provide information for you on, we can prioritize the needs of the district as far as staffing, personnel, and we can definitely prioritize what's needed and, the difference between a want and a need. We can do that, but as far as providing you specific information, I'm not prepared to do that today as far as that goes, but I think we could definitely take that through the committee process and the board and for them to make that decision. But I can definitely provide, all the information needed on, again, we can rack and stack positions up and down the line and prioritize them, and that's probably a good start going in that direction.
Thank you.
Anything else? Spring data report, 2019. Who's doing that?
Actually, Dr. Snyder and Mrs. Nichols.
All right.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity tonight to present a summary of our assessment data from last school year, including the spring of 2019. Before I go into more detail tonight, I just would like to share that throughout the better part of the summer, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness data was embargoed by the state of Illinois, meaning we didn't quite have access to all of it until the state went through its necessary corrections with the data. Now available to us, which we'll share tonight, is assessment data based on our all students group, meaning we can share to you as a whole how all of our students did. What we don't yet have is data specific to special student groups. That data will become available in October, as does the data for summative designations related to the state test. So when that data is available, that'll be out for the public in October. So tonight's summary on assessment data from last school year, including spring of 2019, includes the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, also known as the IAR, and our MAP test. And our MAP test is our universal screening assessment that we have 3 times a year that fulfills our obligations for response to intervention, also known as RTI. A quick note that students in grades 3 through 8 take the state test, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, and students in grades kindergarten through 8th grade take the MAP test. With regards to the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, we do have some points of definite pride from last school year and reasons to celebrate our progress. We also have some areas of focus, though, in moving ahead, which we'll talk about tonight as well. You can see on the slides some of those highlights, and I would just like to underscore the fact that in English language arts, all of our grade levels showed growth from the previous year, including grade level to grade level and as cohorts. So we're extremely proud about that. Also, all 3 of our junior high schools, all of our junior high school students had the highest percentage of students meeting and exceeding since the test began in 2015. Again, this is in language arts, and we're extremely proud about that as well. This is a glimpse of our 3rd grade student data, 2018 compared to spring of 2019, and you can see the percentage of growth there in the area of English language arts. So again, these are numbers or percentages of students meeting and exceeding. So we saw an uptick from 2018 to 2019. And when we go to 4th and 5th grade, the same is true as well. The difference here is now that we have students that have taken the test for a couple years, we also have a cohort comparison. So you can see that in the blue bar is 2018, the orange-yellow bar is 2019, and the green bar in the middle is the cohort group. So what that means is same students tested. So those are the exact same students that actually took the test in 2018 compared to, again, the bar on the right, the yellow bar, 2019, and you can see the growth. So when we're talking about areas of growth that are approaching or in the double-digit percentages, again, that's something we're extremely happy about, and reasons to celebrate around the district in terms of that growth. When we talk about the area of math, we do have some highlights from math. We also know, though, from our 2018-19 data that math will continue to be an area of focus for us as a district. But included in some of those highlights, you can see the growth experienced at the 3rd grade level. And we can also see that in 7th and 8th grades, the cohort groups, again meaning the same students who took the test in 2018 compared to the same students that took the test in 2019, experienced growth in terms of the percentages of students that met and exceeded. There's a snapshot of that 3rd grade growth.
Is that the cohort group?
This is not a cohort. In 2nd grade, they don't take the assessment. So when we look at 3rd grade, we go year to year versus cohort. And you can see our numbers in junior high math from 2019. So this includes the cohorts. So when we talk about the cohort groups in 7th and 8th grade, you can see that we do still have some growth compared to that cohort group in 7th and 8th. But as I mentioned, math will continue to be an area of focus for us. And Mrs. Nichols will talk a little bit more about that at the end of this presentation. And overall, some overall highlights in 8th grade, so students leaving us last year who are now freshmen in high school, you can see the growth that we experienced in 8th grade. So Century Math stood out from the 8th grade student group as an area of continued growth. Julian Junior High School experienced continued growth with their 8th grade students last year in the area of English language arts. And Orland Junior High School experienced some pretty sizable growth in English language arts with their 8th grade students last year. So again, another area for which we're extremely proud. So with that now, I will switch gears here and hand things over to Mrs. Nichols, who will talk a little bit about highlights from MAP assessment last school year. Thank you.
Good evening. So I wanted to share some information about the MAP assessments that we took. Last year, I shared our growth from fall to winter. So as Dr. Snyder said, our students take this test 3 times a year. So the growth information that I'm going to share is going to be the fall to spring growth. Last year, I shared the fall to winter growth. The first thing is that all of our students that take the IARs, so our 3rd through 8th grade students, they had a percent of increase of meeting and exceeding their growth targets compared to 2018. So all of the grades in reading and math, 3rd through 8th grade, had more students meeting their growth targets than the year before. MAP sets a 50% growth target for our students. So because it's a nationally normed test, this is the goal that MAP sets for us. All of our grades met or exceeded that 50% growth target in reading and math. And this year, last year, 77% of our students met or exceeded the national norm level. So we're very proud of that. To show our primary, I want to show off some of our primary data in MAP since those students don't take the IAR. This is the information we have for them. From fall to winter, you can see the percentage of students meeting and exceeding their growth target. So the first column is fall to winter. Kindergarten had 55%, and fall to spring it went up to 62% of our students. So each grade in reading and math for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade continued to show an increase of students meeting and exceeding their growth targets in our primary grades. The other area that I wanted to share as a highlight is our 4th and 7th grade. Our 4th and 7th grade is one of the, those are 2 grades that we do watch for MAP. We do find that sometimes those are grades that we don't always see those students hitting that 50% target that we have from MAP. This year in math and reading, 4th and 7th grade did exceed the 50% target. But in language arts, what we're seeing is since 2016, we are continuing to see it go up. So each year, our MAP for language arts is going up for those 2 grades, which is shows just a lot of the hard work that goes into the classrooms with our teachers. And just to go over our plans for the 2019-2020 school year, we really are having a continuous focus on language arts. So last year, we spent a lot of time with our language arts committees. We really worked on increasing the writing that happened in response to reading, increasing the rigor that our students were exposed to in language arts. We had a lot of professional development as well. We are going to continue that path, and we want to see that continue to go up for our language arts. And moving on to this year, having a strong focus on math. What we know when we dig deep into the test scores and looking at MAP, and then also the information that we get from IAR, because they give us some real great data that our teachers can use as far as what our students are doing well in and what areas they need to improve. And what we're seeing is in math, our students do really well in the state standards in the area of procedure. So they really do have an understanding of the standards. They do very well on the tests in those areas. It's when they have to start doing the reasoning, the modeling, writing out their answers that we feel that they need some more practice and time on that. So that's going to be an area that we are working on this year. Principals have already kicked off the year talking about this at a lot of the buildings. We have someone from the state coming in to work with the junior highs 2 times this year, in October and December, to work on increasing the rigor, reasoning, and modeling in math. And then a big focus that we've had for the past 2 years is really working on small group instruction and differentiation so that we're hitting the needs of all of our students at all the different levels, really focusing in on that differentiation. Okay, do you have any questions?
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, we have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one is on IAR math, and we noticed the great difference, particularly at Orland Junior High. Have you talked to the Orland Junior High math teachers, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and asked them what the heck they're doing right?
So that was,
Because, honest to God, kudos to them. And it's not just, 8th grade is great, but it's across the board. So having that conversation with the other, that's phenomenal.
our junior high language arts, when those scores were coming in, we were just...
Math.
Our junior high math is the area that we are continuing to work on, so it's the language arts that we saw.
Language arts. That's
Yes.
language arts?
So that's
Oh,
the
okay.
junior high language,
Okay.
or the Orland Junior High, I'll go back to that screen.
All right.
With the
Yes, with the 63%.
Right, okay, that is
Yes.
language arts,
Yes.
sorry. And then, for mathematics, have you triangulated data between IAR, MAP, and even our standards-based grading to see where our areas of need are?
Yes, and so what we're seeing with the data we got from IAR and our MAP data is that our students are doing real well in the procedural, in the state standards of math, but it's that reasoning, application, modeling, having to write every step that they take and give the reason and explanation for why they did it and the multi-step problems. That's the area that we're seeing, specifically 5th through 8th grade is the area that we're seeing that we need to focus on that.
Thank you.
But yes, Orland Junior High, all 3 of our junior high language arts was outstanding, but we really were very excited to see the progress that Orland Junior High made, especially in this 8th grade.
Any other questions? Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I move that the Board of Education adjourn the September 16th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Second.
Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 We'll start at 7 o'clock.
All right.
I'll ask Jen if this was the highest for them overall.
For Orland School District 135 regular meeting, Monday, September 16th, 2019, at 7 p.m. Jill, can you do the roll, please?
Here.
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 We all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to start with some recognitions.
Should.
Who's doing that?
Didn't give anything to me.
Mrs. Kulak, all right.
I Innovate Mini Technology Conference presenters. At this summer's I Innovate Mini Technology Conference, our teachers had the opportunity to obtain professional development from students. Congratulations to the following students who had outstanding presentations at the conference this summer. I recognize that voice. Oh, wait, it's me. Alex Accardi, Aya Askar, Ansay Beatty, Emma Birmingham, Caitlin Cabrera, Jane Chan, Jocelyn Chan, Ameka Chukwu, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Chukwumezi, sorry, Lama Darwish, Yanad David, Lily Elabade, Audrey Haas, Miles Jaquez, Catherine Kanegi, Ayan Kashkish, Addison Manning, Darren Massey, Quinn McElligott, Alana Noon, Samuel Peng, Rebecca Phillip, Mackenzie Pra, Charlie Prodo, Taylor Riley, Michael Schwartz, Lily Schwartz, Fiona Sajud, Lucy Simmons, Somil Soni, Ava Valencia, Sabrine Zatar, and Ava Zimmerman.
Careful. Whoa.
Watch your step.
Good job, Aya.
Hey. What's your name?
Don't move back.
Yeah.
I like
Parents, don't be shy to take photos. I see everyone like prepared.
Charlie. Any of your kids up there?
I gotta rub it in, man.
Not of mine.
Great job, guys.
All right, thank you.
The following staff members had an opportunity to share a wealth of knowledge with their colleagues at the I Innovate Mini Technology Conference over the summer. Carrie Arroyo, Katie Behrens, Morgan Bianchi, Ashley Boback, Leanne Brown, Chris Conway, Caitlin Davis, Emily Day, Kim DeVries, Kelly Donlevy, Heidi Dugan, Lindsay Duff, Brittany Feltman, Christy Gilbert, Catherine Hannigan, Becky Heidegger, Joanne Capsasis, Sarah Cash, Chrissy Keith, DeFrancesco Kelly, Katie Knopf, Kevin Krillick, Christy Labriola, Caitlin Loizan, Kara McFarland, Amy McGarry, Jenny McKendrick, Daniel McNicholas, Lauren Musilevich, Sharon O'Laughlin, Laura Prisby, Dan Prorock, Gabby Sanfilippo, Tara Schultz, Mary Sims, Amy Smith, Aaron Smolinski, Michelle Thorne.
I open this, I asked for a second, correct? Or do we have to vote on that? Open this, or I just open it?
No, it's a motion to open the hearing. So you ask for a motion to open the public hearing, and then when it's done, there'll be a motion to close the public hearing.
But do I need we do need a roll call. Okay.
No, you can just say all in favor.
Okay, so I
There's a
don't have to
voice
go
vote.
through,
Yeah.
okay. Do I need a second?
Yeah. Motion second, always vote. Because the roll is okay, it's not wrong, then it takes over.
Okay, moving on to the ABCDE Awards. Honoree is Kim Moriarty from Park. She's a social worker. Her value is Outstanding Achievement. She was nominated by Brian Fogarty.
Hold on.
Wait, another picture.
We just wanted to make sure Mrs. Moriarty was acknowledged. She performed the Heimlich and saved a child's life.
Wow. Our next honoree is Lori Keel, Prairie Secretary, valued for her compassion, nominated by Stanley Paluskevich.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. At this point, I have no citizens' remarks, unless there's someone who didn't get a chance to sign in. No? Okay. So we're going to open with the public hearing for the fiscal year 2020 budget. Illinois law requires that prior to the Board of Education taking final action on the budget, at least one public budget hearing is held. And this hearing provides the public the opportunity to comment on the proposed budget, which has been on public display at the Administration Center since August 14th, 2019. So I will move that the Board of Education open the public hearing for the tentative budget for the 2019-2020 school year, which has been on file on public display for a 30-day period in accordance with the requirements of the School Code of Illinois. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for public comment, and anyone that would like to speak is welcome to come up to the mic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan McDonald. I'm a taxpayer here in the district. My first question regarding the fiscal year 2020 tentative budget is on page 11 and concerns $1,058,000 of certain estimated expenditures listed for purchase services under the Board of Education. The purpose of this budget document is to reflect a transparency of information so the proposed revenues and expenditures can be seen and understood by the taxpayers of the district. The Illinois State Board of Education requires all school districts to utilize what is called the Illinois Program Accounting Manual, or IPAM. This manual contains a variety of function codes to specifically identify various revenues and expenditures. The function code listed for Board of Education services is 2310. The IPAM defines this function code as activities of the elected appointed body that is vested with responsibility for educational activities in a given district. I have looked at previous budgets filed by this administration and noticed similar amounts budgeted for purchased services by the Board of Education. I had to FOIA the specific detail from a prior fiscal year and learned the district's auditors, legal counsel, liability insurance premiums, workers' compensation premiums, criminal background checks, health insurance consulting, and unemployment insurance payments to the Illinois Department of Employment Security are some of the vendors included in this budget item. Lumping all these vendors into a single budget cell defeats the transparency policy of the Board of Education and does not comply with the Illinois Program Accounting Manual. When are these expenditures going to be classified on the budget form under the appropriate function codes?
Thank you.
That's my first question.
Okay, go ahead.
Am I going to get an answer?
This is a public hearing. It's
Okay.
not a Q&A. I can get back to you on that.
Okay, fine. My second question concerns page 27, the estimated limitation of administrative cost worksheet. Why hasn't the estimated actual expenditures for fiscal year 2019 been included on this form?
Can you repeat that one more time? I was writing your last comment down.
The actual expenditures for fiscal 19 are supposed to be included on the administrative cost tab 32 in the budget form. It's on page 27. There is no information for the actual cost for fiscal 19, which is why, if you recall, back in June or July, there was issues and you had to make a special motion, which I also commented on, because the initial administrative cost exceeded the 5% that is allowed. My third question concerns expenditures for transportation. Since the district outsources its regular and special ed transportation under function code 2550 on page 14, why is there a projected salary expenditure amount of $311,000 plus benefits? What positions are being paid from this item?
Okay, I'll get back to you with that.
My final question concerns food service. I have heard the administration at numerous board meetings tell the board that the current food service program does not lose any money and that the food service vendor will reimburse the district for any loss that might occur. On page 6 of the budget, under function code 1600, it lists projected revenues for food service at $1,470,000. On page 12, under function code 2560, it lists projected expenditures for food service of $1,878,680. This is a loss of $408,680. Could you explain this?
That I'll explain. It's been explained numerous times. That is for supervisory costs for staff and playground supervisors with the district. That has nothing to do with the Quest bill whatsoever. And that has been addressed numerous times.
Is it related to food service? Is it related to food
It's staffing, it's supervision staffing. That's what it is.
So it would be there no matter who was doing the food service, whether it was the National Lunch Program or Quest. Those costs would be there.
The point here is that it needs to be classified in the appropriate function code. It's not food service, because food service is the preparation and sale and distribution of food for the students. I mean, this is, playground supervision is something completely different. My point of this whole thing is that there needs to be transparency so somebody can look at the budget form and determine what exactly monies are being spent on. Thank you. I'll give you my email and contact information.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay.
I had a few questions on the budget regarding transportation. On page 5 of the budget form, it lists estimated revenue generated by the transportation tax levy at $3,010,000. And on page 7 of the budget form, it lists transportation revenue of $3,900,000 from the transportation claim filed with the Illinois State Board of Education. And while I realize that the transportation claim was filed for fiscal year 2019 activity and is paid in 2020, I want to know, did Orland School District 135 apply for reimbursement for curriculum-related field trips as allowed in the instructions for filing the transportation claim as published by the Illinois State Board of Education in Appendix B? Did we file for reimbursement for curriculum-related field trips that occurred last year?
Yes.
Okay, how much did we get?
I can't give you that information offhand.
Okay, and then I guess...
I'll get to you on that, though.
Okay, my follow-up question is, you cannot file for reimbursement if parents, students, or any organization pays for any part of the transportation costs, then the field trip is considered an extracurricular trip, and cannot be reimbursable. So I'm curious about this school year. I know the board mentioned they're not going to cover transportation costs for field trips, but as that gets, if the school board is not covering that in their budget, we're not going to be able to get any reimbursement, for the fiscal year 2020 to be paid in 2021. So you might want to reconsider that policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yep.
This just goes back to my earlier question regarding the devices for the board. And where are we at with that? The $5,600, is it state policy, local policy, laws, that you guys can only access board docs, email, and communicate through district-issued devices? The question is we're nickel and diming, all stacked, we're all nickel and dimed. $5,600, that's a lunch lady. That's a paraprofessional. That's somebody.
That's over 6 years.
Are we willing to give them up?
No.
At all?
No.
So when you email me, it says sent from iPad, Linda, but we pay for you to have a Mac Pro.
No, I only have an iPad. I do not. That was misinformation that was given to you. I only have the iPad.
Only the iPad?
Yes.
So when we FOIA this, where do we get the best accurate information from?
Chris has corrected that? Yeah, so he has the correct information for you if you would like.
Yes, she has the iPad, she does not have it.
And everybody else, it was as listed on the email?
I believe it was as listed, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
It's worth $200.
Anyone else?
I don't know that this is the right time to do this, but I would like to see the district office to address this particular issue, if it's even possible to not use devices to evaluate whether it would be possible, number one, to get our information for the board members, but number two, the cost of what that alternative would look like if we had to have someone in the district office making copies and delivering copies to us at our house so that we could do the board business, or even have us go to the district office to pick them up. What that would cost, and I would imagine over the course of 6 years, it would be probably 5 times that amount. I'm just assuming, just making copies and providing all these packets, what we get electronically, that would be going in the opposite direction in terms of trying to save money, number one, and save time that the district office has to spend on other things. But I'd like to see that evaluation if we could do that.
I'll do the best I can putting that together.
Because it used to be that packets were delivered to everyone.
Via courier.
Via courier, yes. So.
Can I just add something? I don't know if this is the right time either, but I don't even know how I want to say this. If I don't mind using my personal computer to check anything or so on and so forth, but if somebody decides that they want to FOIA my laptop, I don't think that just because I checked my school board email on my personal laptop that it should be able to be FOIA'd, and you should be able to have access to every single thing on my personal laptop. So,
Is that true, Mr. Melody? If we use our personal devices, would that be FOIAble?
Well, not everything on your personal device would be FOIAble. What's FOIAble is a public document, a public record as defined by the Freedom of Information Act. So if a person has public records on their personal device, then those records are subject to FOIA regardless of their location.
So we would have to hand in our personal device to get compiled anything that's asked for in the FOIA request?
No, because,
No?
the school board doesn't have any authority to require any board member to hand over anything. And this is also getting into a legal opinion, which is properly given, not in public, so.
Okay,
I hope that answers your question.
thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Then I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that the Board of Education close the public hearing and return to regular session.
second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we're going to go to the superintendent's report. First up, review start of 2019-20 school year.
Just some enrollment numbers for the beginning of the school year. Our enrollment was 5185, which is slightly down from last year. Last year, we were at 5304, and then the year before that, which is FY18, we're at 5169, which is kind of where we're at, a little bit above that right now. Also, we talked about our Speak Up campaign at the last board meeting, so I wanted to let everybody know that that is in process right now, where information is going to be provided on buses, in classrooms, in hallways, where students will have the opportunity to speak up basically about anything, and there's a sample of that on the screen. That's active currently, and then again, we're in the process of passing those out and making that available. Like I said, they'll be on buses as well on 2 different locations. Students will just be given general information on what that is for, but really it's an opportunity for students to speak out about anything that they see that they feel like it needs our attention. So that will be moving forward. So there shouldn't be a student that's not familiar with that poster shortly. Within the next week or two, everybody should at least have seen it, hopefully know what it is, and it's available.
Great.
It's currently live at this point. So.
Great, thank you. Next up, near and dear to my heart, 2019-20 parent organization donations. We're going to formally accept from both the music parents and the Parents for Education groups their donations to us for the last school year, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and I can't thank them enough for all they do for our students. I have to say, both organizations are fabulous. I has been involved in both, and I thank them, and I thank them on behalf of the Board of Education. And we're going to do we'll call up the music parents first. Anyone here that represents the music parents, if they could come up?
So I will say that music parents last school year donated back to the school for all their efforts, $31,792.70.
We're going to make it out to cash.
Endorse that.
Okay. Next, we have the September 25th PFE event, Screenagers.
Mrs. Kulak addressed this at the Committee of the Whole, but the PFE is sponsoring a showing of the movie Screenagers at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, September 25th at Century Junior High. The film explores the impact of technology on kids and provides helpful hints, tactics for parents to monitor screen usage and set limits for their children. So that will be available at 6 p.m. at Century Junior High, Wednesday, September 25th. And just to clarify that other showing that we have, it is available for students, so maybe we'll try to figure out how students get an opportunity to view that as well.
Thank you. And I would recommend any board members that can go and see that. I'm going. Well, I have a 13-year-old, so it's right in my sweet spot. So, next, the 41st Annual Orland Open Spelling Bee on October 6th.
All right, Dr. Smith, who is a huge proponent of this event, the 41st Orland Open Spelling Bee for all ages, 8 through 80 plus, on October 6th, Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Presbyterian Church in Orland Park. It's co-sponsored by the Village of Orland Park and the Presbyterian Church in Orland Park. So there's no entry fee. There's various age groups, trophies and ribbons for those who spell well.
I have one question. Dr. Zeter, are you going to be in it
Oh,
again?
man, you're challenging me. If I do it, Mrs. Olson's been in it as well.
Really?
All right. Compensation report and posting in accordance with 105 Illinois, whatever that is.
That's just information providing the compensation report for the district by October 1 that we're required to do, so we'll make sure that that's up by then. As far as FOIA requests, we had 3 FOIA requests and all 3 have been filled.
All right. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. And I move that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda items: minutes of the August 12th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting, minutes of the August 12th, 2019 regular Board of Education meeting, minutes of the August 12th, 2019 closed session, minutes of the August 21st, 2019 special meeting and closed session as amended, accounts payable August 31st, 2019, $896,493.02. Petty cash imprest fund, August 31st, 2019, $3,686.29. Payroll summary, August 31st, 2019, $2,352,427.97. Resignation certified staff effective as listed and indicated. Resignation of classified staff, effective as listed and indicated. Substitute call list, effective as indicated. I am going to ask to pull items, oh, sorry, I thought that was, they're all under substitute call list. Okay. I'm going to ask to pull items B, C, and D for separate motions. I was not at those meetings, so I would not like to vote yes on those. So we'll pull those. Anyone who wants to pull anything else from the consent agenda? Can I get a second?
Did one of those that I wasn't at? Did that?
Yeah, we were, that's the amended minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second.
Jill, can you call the roll?
Aye.
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 Okay, I'm going to go to the B, C, and D. I move that we approve the minutes for the August 12th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
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 I move that we approve the minutes for the August 12th, 2019 regular Board of Education meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, will you call the roll? Abstain.
Aye.
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 Minutes for the August 12th, 2019 closed session. I move that we approve the minutes for the August 12th, 2019 closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, will you call the roll?
Aye.
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 Abstain. Okay, we'll move on to board motions. First one is parent organization donations.
I move that the Board of Education graciously accept donations from parent organizations to the schools of Orland School District 135 for the benefit of District 135 students during the 2018-19 school year in the amount of $157,980.77.
I second.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Recall of employment classified effective August 19th, 2019.
I move that the Board of Education accept a recall of employment for the following classified staff: Serene Bamich, paraprofessional Centennial; Deborah Barker, paraprofessional Centennial; Christine Kramer, paraprofessional Century Junior High; Lori Donnelly, paraprofessional Meadow Ridge; Kristen James, paraprofessional Centennial; Sonia Cunha, paraprofessional Meadow Ridge; Stacy Leonard, paraprofessional Meadow Ridge; Tyler Oberhow, paraprofessional Century Junior High; Nicole Willis, paraprofessional Meadow Ridge.
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Employment certified staff.
I move that the Board of Education employ the following certified staff effective as indicated. Meredith Szymanski, speech language pathologist, Park, effective 9/4/2019. Claire Grady, 5th grade, High Point, effective 8/19/2019. Christine Gray, early childhood special ed, Centennial, effective 8/26/2019. Lene Hubble, hearing itinerant district, effective 9/16/2019 until no later than 3/20/20. Kathleen Kaminsky, 5th grade, Meadow Ridge, effective 8/19/2019. Christina Kunz, resource, Liberty, effective 8/19/2019. Janine Ferguson Marshall, school psychologist intern, Meadow Ridge, 2019 to 2020 school year. Kate McCullough, school psychologist, Park, effective 9/16/2019. Elizabeth Nort, media specialist, Center Centennial, effective 8/20/2019. Jamie Nystrom, occupational therapist, district, effective 9/20/2019. Kira Ashiro, 3rd grade, High Point, effective 8/19/2019.
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Employment classified staff.
I move that the Board of Education employ the following, effective as indicated: Carla Blazes, lunchroom playground supervisor, High Point; Donna Feehan, paraprofessional, Center, effective 10/7/19; Samantha Judge, lunchroom playground supervisor, High Point, to be determined; Joel Coomer, one-to-one health aide, Centennial, effective 8/29/19; Dana Rivera, paraprofessional, Centennial, effective 9/9/19; Christina Rogers, lunchroom playground supervisor, Prairie, effective 9/4/19; Sharon Roham, paraprofessional, Meadow Ridge, effective 9/9/19; Rosario Ruder, lunchroom playground supervisor, center, effective 8/29/19. George Sims, maintenance, district office, effective 10/2/19.
Second.
Discussion? Jill, call the roll, please. Aye.
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 Resolution authorizing disposal of surplus personal property textbooks.
I move that the Board of Education approve a resolution authorizing disposal of surplus personal property to declare antiquated foreign language textbooks as indicated on Exhibit A as the inventory list to be surplus and no longer needed for school purposes, and authorizing the superintendent or his designee to dispose of it at private or public sale in accordance with Board Policy 4.80 and Section 1022.8 of the Illinois School Code.
Second.
Discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Aye. Adoption of fiscal year 2020 budget.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the final budget for the 2019-2020 school year as presented, according to the resolution, page 1 of ISBE Form 50-36 for Orland School District 135.
I second.
Discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Any board member reports and requests besides what we discussed, Mr. Hodge, in the public hearing? Anybody?
Just a reminder that this Thursday, we have a Aaron's Law presentation from Teaching and Learning, 7 p.m. at the Teaching and Learning Center. We have a guest speaker, and administration and building social workers will be there, and it's regarding sexual abuse prevention.
Okay.
Also, just as a reminder, the superintendent search open forums will be happening tomorrow. First one at 9 a.m. at the Orland Park Civic Center. That'll also be available online, as well as 7 p.m. right here. Dr. Boswell in this very room, possibly? All right, at 7 p.m. That'll also be an open forum. People will also be available to send their questions online. There'll be a link. There's a link available on our website for the morning as well as the evening, and also I believe those have been emailed out to families as well.
Thank you. Anything else? I'll have a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session to discuss student disciplinary matters or other matters pertaining to individual students, pending, probable, or imminent litigation, collective negotiating matters, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or legal counsel, and review of closed session minutes.
I second.
Discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 And we will most likely have some action after closed. If you're all welcome to stay for that if you would like. Session, we had that motion in closed. Ratification of certified staff contract.
I move that the Board of Education ratify a collective bargaining agreement with the Orland School District 135 certified staff for the 2019-20 school year.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Declaration of closed minutes. I move that the Board of Education, having completed its semi-annual review of closed session minutes, release the following closed session minutes as redacted. March 9th, 2016, August 14th, 2017, February 12th, 2018, June 11th, 2018, September 10th, 2018, October 9th, 2018, October 22nd, 2018, Part 1, October 22nd, 2018, Part 2, November 12th, 2018, December 3rd, 2018, and April 29th, 2019, and that all other closed session minutes not specifically released above remain confidential.
Second.
Any discussion? Jill, call the roll.
Aye.
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 Motion to adjourn. You guys want to stay around?
I move that the Board of Education adjourn the September
Had mine,
16th,
Ally.
2019 regular meeting.
I second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight. Drive safely.
Thank you.